Hi, good morning everybody. Hello. Today, and this goes to both people who believe in a flat earth and people who believe in a globe earth, and I'd like to explain you how you can join your forces to settle this issue once and forever if you do the following. Let me just explain the principle behind it. If the earth were flat and we go a certain amount on a longitude line, all steps of equal size are equal in the degree and minutes and seconds we march. So for example, 1 second of on a longitude line is approximately 31 meters. And this is the same if you do this on the globe. If you go here for 1 arc second or 1 degree or whatever, it will be always the same amount no matter where you do it. But the difference comes if we try to determine how far you walk when you walk around a latitude line. And clearly, if you have a distance to the equator, say 10,000 kilometers, and then the circumference at the equator is 2 times pi 10,000, so some 60,000 kilometers, you have a very characteristic ratio if you walk a certain distance on the longitude line and the same distance on the latitude line. On a flat earth, this ratio would be 1 to pi half, so 1 to 1.5 at near the equator, and it gets proportionally less if you come closer to the North Pole, and it gets proportionally higher if you go further out to the southern ice wall. On a globe, the ratios are slightly different, because if you look on the globe from above, you see for equal steps here on a line of longitude, viewed from above, the circles do not increase in size that much as they would do on a flat map. So you have another characteristic ratio, and it is clearly so that on the equator you have a ratio of 1, because if you go 10,000 kilometers here, and the circumference of the Earth is 40,000 kilometers, which is 360 degrees, then 90 degrees here is also 10,000 kilometers, and so you have a ratio of 1 to 1. And what I have prepared for you, and for which I will supply a link with this video, is a table for which for every position, whatever you believe in, whether you believe in a flat map or in a globe earth, for every latitude here, I have calculated in a spreadsheet the ratio, and so all you would have to do is to find a GPS receiver, a handheld GPS receiver, and just select a road near in the vicinity where you live, and walk about, it depends a little bit on the latitude where you live, and walk say 300 meter and note how many arc seconds this are. 300 meters should be about 10 arc seconds. And then you do this once, walking exactly or as much as possible north to south, and then you do the same number of arc seconds walking east to west or west to east, that is perpendicular to that. And then you calculate the ratio for this, and those who live at the equator, who would finally come to a ratio of 1, could conclude they live on a globe earth, and if you get a ratio of about 1 to 1.5, you can conclude you are on a flat earth. And this works with the precision of handheld GPS receivers, which is about 10 meters or so. It works around to 60 degrees north, and it works very nicely south of the equator, of course. And in the spreadsheet I also have calculated the distance you should go so that the accuracy of the GPS is better than the error that could lead to a wrong conclusion. In general, if I think as most of us live more south than 60 degree north, a good distance is about 300 to 400 or 500 meters. So you need to find a stretch of road in the vicinity where you live of that length. Two roads actually, one going north-south, one going east-west. And you can, in a comment here, note down the ratio. Once more, you have to walk the same number of arc seconds in northeast and as west-east direction, no matter in which direction you walk, it's just the distance. And as only the ratio is important, it's not important how you measure this. For example, you could take a bicycle and at some point on the wheel mark with some tape or so, mark it and simply count the number of times the wheel turns when you walk in the one direction, and then you count how much it turns if you walk in the other direction, and you get the ratio of it. And on the globe Earth, the ratio will always be less than 1. That is, if you walk in this direction a number of arc seconds, it will be only less, or always less, as if you walk in this direction. And the numbers are, of course, different if the flat Earth were true, and all the numbers are pre-calculated for each degree of latitude where you might live, so that you can check by this whether you are probably living on a globe or living on a flat plane. And of course, I hear some flat Earth people say, but GPS lies to us. And then I suggest you join your forces, and for example, all around the world, you make a photograph of a point in the world where the GPS location according to Google Maps is wrong, and you get a different reading, more than 10 meters different if you have a good satellite reception, or however, whatever you think how GPS may work, so that others can check that it is really true that GPS is wrong at a certain location of our Earth. And the same would be true if someone claims this is not always the same distance you walk if you walk on a line of longitude here. Maybe I have said this wrong, I'm not a native speaker, maybe I sometimes confuse latitude and longitude, but therefore I show if you walk along such a line, and if some of you do it at say 60 degree north and others do it at 30 degree north or so, my claim is that you always, for the same number of arc seconds, you get the same distance. And this is another thing where you could join your forces and worldwide check whether GPS lies to you or whether it says the truth. And if it is so that walking in this direction and walking in the east-west direction gives you a ratio that can only be true for a flat plane, I will concede to you that all of my life I lived in error. But if you get a ratio that is close to the ratio calculated for the globe Earth, I hope some of you flat earthers now have something that keeps nagging in your brain, and all the time you think of the other things, you will think of this experiment, and that you are not able to explain it with a flat plane. That was it today. Have a nice time. And now, as I have this working device here, I will flash you back. Let me see what I will do. I select here, well, let's see, this time I choose that you not any longer believe in a flat Earth, but maybe still, just for the fun, believe the ISS is fake.